really quick. Oh, it worked. Yeah. So for those of you that were hanging out with us in 2020, we were able to bring Claire in for a really fun get your shit together workshop. I don't know, that's what I like to call it, Claire. Claire and I go way back. We have such an awesome history. She is from the fitness community. We instructed in the same space together from time to time, or always were passing each other in life. Claire has been with Lululemon for a very long time. She's also a Lululemon ambassador. She's an incredible advocate for human rights, all the things, Black Lives Matters. Like if you go to her website, she is quite the advocate for things that are near and dear to her heart. So, and go to her Instagram. So there's she's a beautiful human. But what I also want to emphasize is she has this special knack for helping people, I would say, find space in areas of their life, but physical spaces. So if you go to her website, Claire specializes in helping you kind of create a space within your home that maybe you were not optimizing before. For myself, it was my closet to start, and we still need to attack my home office, because I realized I've let these spaces just gather things, and then that feeling of the shit that I don't need piles up, and then it gets into your head, right? So when we can create a really neat space that gives us clarity, your mental health also improves as well. So it's not just about like these materialistic things that we're purging. It's also like how it affects, I think, our brain as well. So I'm going to stop talking. I want to introduce Claire. And today we were going to be very just interactive, workshop-y. I'll answer questions as you guys post them in the chat, or I think it's a small enough group, you could just kind of unmute yourself and ask a question too, whatever you feel compelled to do. We will address your questions, but Claire and I were thinking that this could be a piggyback onto a fun day where after this workshop, we decide which room we want to focus on, and then we all show up together on Zoom and we purge that room together. So I know what room might be to attack, okay? So anyway, I'm gonna hand it over to you, Claire. I'm gonna mute and just kind of let you go, and we'll just be interactive.
Thank you, Molly. Gosh, you just started making me tear up a little bit. I have such deep gratitude for you, and I do think that I don't know, for any of you all on this call, I don't know if you have these type of humans in your life, but Molly is this kind of human for me. Like I literally met her when I was 21 years old, like just still finishing up UW, and just, I mean, Molly like literally taught me at a time in my life when I was an athlete for my whole life. And then when I went to UW, developed an eating disorder and a very bizarre relationship with my body. And someone like Molly taught me like what it was to just be strong, and like literally helped me build up my confidence through movement. And I felt so lucky for having worked at Lululemon at the time, where we were taking classes a lot in the city. And so that's literally how I met Molly, and then used a lot of those tools to moved to New York. I was in New York for 7 years. And then when I came back in 2016 with my partner, Molly was like one of the first people to reach out and say, hey, like, how do we get you in for a TRX workshop or anything like that? So Molly, thank you for being someone who also has always kind of, I think sometimes other people can kind of see the amount of shifts I've had in my life, and maybe sometimes either be like skeptical of that or judge that. And instead you are so like, oh, this is how you show up. Like you're in fitness one day and then you're like an organizer the next. But like, I truly freaking believe that like, it's all connected. Like no matter, like wherever we go, there we are, like, so whatever our like career is, or who you are in Fuel House in a kettlebell swing is also who you are when you're like a lawyer or you're a mama or you're, like, I just really think it's like beautiful how we can all, I think any of this work, whether it's movement, organization, anything like that, it gets us to know ourselves on a deeper level. And I think, unfortunately, our society, and we're seeing this a lot during the pandemic, like, because we're in a place that's constantly kind of talking to us about like all the other things like we need to be, buy, look like, we're getting bombarded with messages all the time, that sometimes I think that we truly become like detached from who we actually are. And I think as much as heartbreaking as this pandemic has been, and we can very much acknowledge like the grief and the loss in a lot of this, I do think it's also forced a lot of us to like sit with ourselves, maybe in ways that we haven't before. And the things that maybe we were like putting on the back burner, or for me, it's been a lot of like personal traumas, these different things that like I've just never dealt with in my life. I finally am. And that all honestly has a lot to do with anti-racism work, because it's a lot of like, how do we heal ourselves on an individual level so that we can show up better in the world, and also like, you know, just like cause less harm, like just be better humans. And so I think that that's where Molly, like what you've developed with like Epic Human and everything, I just think it's all very connected. And I know that's wordy and lengthy, but the reason I give that kind of say that is because I do want to explain, like, that's also how I'm showing up in the organizing industry. Like, I think it's beautiful that there's now a lot more recognition to like what this industry is. You know, you can turn on Netflix and watch shows about it and things like that. But I think what I also sometimes reject is how with like social media apps like a Pinterest or an Instagram, there can be this feeling of, oh my gosh, I got to get my space like perfect. It has to have like 20 perfectly organized little containers that have labels on them and this whole thing. And like, I love doing that. And if that's what a client wants, I'm all about it. But I'm typically trying to come into someone's space and using what they already have, because number one, that's like available, but it's also when we start to think about like our greater impact, like how we as individuals and what we bring into our homes can then affect like the environment and like how we're buying. And so I do a lot of like thrifting and repurposing and using things that someone already has, because then it can make your space also feel really like unique and special. And I don't want anyone to feel like this then has to be this added chore of, oh shit, I can't be an organized human unless I take like a whole day to like take all my measurements and go to the container store and like get it perfect. It's like, no, we can start right now. Like, you know, just set a timer, 10 minutes, like organize that. I call them, like, I don't ever use the word like junk drawer, because I'm like, nothing in your home is junk. Like, it all should like matter to you. You know what I mean? Like, this is a like utility drawer or something like that. So, I think that what I would want any of these sessions to be is just like that little bit of encouragement for you, the same way Molly would say like, hey, make time for like a 10-minute walk or doing our stretches, or, you know, like this is all going to look different on different days. Sometimes it's like a huge closet overhaul where you want to take everything out and go through everything. And some days it's just that little bit of information where you put on a shirt and you're like, you know what, I really don't like this. Like, why do I keep putting this on my body? The huge win for that day could just be putting that shirt in a donate bag. And like, that's your win for the day. Like, you just did something to help you become a more organized person and to get to know yourself better. So
yeah,
I hope that all kind of like makes sense a little bit.
Totally. Like so Claire came into my home. Has it been 2 years now?
I think so, babe.
It was 2019. Was it?
What was last year? Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it was so cool because I had Claire come into my house, and we have a small home, like it's an old house, so the rooms are very small. The closets are teeny. And so I knew that this back bedroom that I get to have my closet space in just needed a lot of help. And it was one of those rooms in your home where you're just like, I'm just going to shut the door. I'm just going to shut the door and ignore it. So Claire came in, and the process was a ton of fun. And it's just great because she kind of just takes over And Sue's also gone through this
And
too.
doesn't judge. God bless America.
God bless.
Does not judge.
She doesn't
There's
judge.
no judgment.
No. But can I explain kind of the process, Claire? And then you just, okay, cool.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'd love to hear your take on it.
So Claire comes in and she's like, well, what's the problem here? And I'm like, well, hello, it's kind of obvious. So I have this overwhelming closet that just doesn't have a lot of room. I have stuff and that I knew that I wasn't even wearing. And I knew it was just sitting there, but I didn't even know, like, and it just wasn't organized well, number one. So she came in, she takes everything out of your closet and dumps it on your bed, everything. And then piece by piece, she's like, what do you say, Claire? What are the questions that you ask?
So I'm asking, like, do you love it? First and foremost, right? Because that matters. So do you love it? Will you wear it? And if you will wear it, is it something you're going to frequently wear?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm never asking, like, what I'm never asking is, when was the last time you wore this? The reason I don't like that question is because, think about this. Like, so as someone who like lived in New York's fashion is a little bit different than Seattle's. So like I have things in my closet that are very specific for like when I travel or when I go to a wedding, right? We all just are in a pandemic right now. Like a lot of the fancier events that we used to go to, we're not doing right now, but that doesn't mean that we have to like get rid of all of our favorite dresses, right? Like that question isn't my favorite. It's more like, would you still buy it today?
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me is a more valuable question.
Yeah. So it's cool because she'll stand there holding the piece up. We have a discussion or we don't. I mean, it's like really easy to figure out, or it's like, oh, well, anyway, we do this giant purge and we got these little areas, like this is going to go to donation. This might be an area that we readdress in a moment. And then this is a keeper area. And what was really cool is once we like finished the entire process, which I found a shoe. Didn't we find the shoe? I had been missing the shoe. And
I found so many things when she came
Oh
in,
my
like
God.
single earrings that I was like, oh my God, I know where the other one is.
yeah, I blamed Poe forever for stealing the shoe and putting it in the backyard. Fucking there's the shoe. But the problem was I got rid of the other shoe because I couldn't find it. Anyway, so the neat thing is then we got all of our areas organized. And what was cool is the things that then we decided to keep. She actually was able to help me put like outfits together then with pieces that I didn't even know how to like use before. So anyway, it was just this wonderful process. And now I have like this well-organized closet that isn't overwhelming with just shit in it, right? So for me, it was great. And the cool part was, if you're open to it, Claire has some organizations that she loves to support. So if you end up with this giant bag of donation, she's got some great resources to then take that to, which makes you feel good, right? You're giving back. Yeah, Sokol wants to say hi.
Oh,
Say hi.
where am I? Hi.
Yeah, and the other cool thing is then we had to put everything back in the closet. So then Claire showed me how to fold things properly. And of course, from all the retail experience she has, that girl can fucking fold. She can fold shirts and pants like nobody's business to make your space even that much bigger. So I still fold the way you taught me. And yes, my mom taught me all this stuff, but it was my mom. Anyway, so great experience. Now we need to move on to my home office. That was one of our next projects. Yeah.
I can't wait for the home office. And I love that you touched on the folding, because this is also another really big question that I ask clients. And obviously this is space permitting, right? Like when AJ and I lived in New York, we were in a 500 square foot apartment. So like we did have to fold and hang because our hanging space was very small. But I have some clients that have the hanging space and I'm just like, do you like to fold? And people will just be straight up like, I don't like it. Like, this is where I constantly find resistance. And I'm like, cool, I'll show you how to hang a lot of your stuff. I'll come in with like an extra bar and like, you know, get my screws and drill in and like really try to kind of rearrange something that works for someone. Whereas like Molly and you, Sue, like you guys right away were into the folding and like maintaining it. And that's super easy for you. So that's awesome. It's just, I think sometimes we stop getting I try to bring in this curiosity to ask the questions that, like, I think sometimes we can feel stuck in our spaces, like, oh, I'm supposed to fold because this is the type of thing that's supposed to be folded. And it's like, no, but screw that. If you don't have the time or even just the ability, right, like to do that during this moment, then don't do it. Don't force yourself to do something like that. Because I think this even comes into like when my partner needed to start wearing, like in New York, they started making him wear more like button up shirts to work at, like, even though he's still an engineer out there, they had a different dress code. And he and I got really real with ourselves that, like, neither of us like to iron very much. It's my mom's like favorite thing to do. Joan had like a laundry room and was like there with her ironing board. No, like that is not a Claire thing, and that's not an AJ thing. So guess what? We buy shirts for him that are non-iron. Like, you know, like it's easy. We pop them in the dryer and then the man gets to go to work and neither of us has to iron. So like, have those conversations with yourself or with any of your, like, anyone you're living with, you know, like, hey, why do we feel like we have to do this one way just because, you know?
Yeah. What I love, I put the link in the invite to this today. All the photo examples on your website of the different rooms and spaces that you organize. Talk about inspiration. Holy cow. It's really cool to see Claire's work. So if you are on your laptop or your phone right now, you could open up that link and kind of see some examples of what Claire helps you with. But I mean, you don't just do closets, Claire. So talk about, like, we do have a lot of new mamas that are going to be expecting or have just had. So how do you help out with like nursery and anything on that topic?
Absolutely. So what's been really fun about this work is, like, when I first started, like before I even started my business, back when I was in New York and training and working at a law firm, just because I love doing this, I would help friends a lot. And so because I've been able to help people over the last like 6-7 years with this, I've watched everyone's new life stages, from like moving into new homes, getting married, divorce, experiencing loss, bringing babies into the world. Like, one of my favorite projects was in 2018, my friend's husband, as her like birthday gift, flew me to Toronto so I could prep their condo for their twins. And it was the coolest, because it was like, but the thing was, is it was a rental, right? Like, even since this time, I still haven't met the bebes because of the pandemic, but like, even this time, they've moved to another rental house because they needed more space. So we were really real with, like, we don't want to spend, it's a rental, right? So we're not spending a lot of money. We want this to be efficient, and we want nothing to feel so permanent that it couldn't be moved into another space. So I just basically played the mental game of Tetris of going into, okay, well, this is in their office, but I could actually use this bookshelf to put all the kids' items on, the diapers, everything. So we just essentially moved a lot of furniture that they already had in their space, right? So I think that that's kind of the fun game to be played in this, is to not be so limited to thinking, oh my gosh, I'm in this new life transition, so I have to go out and buy every single thing new. It's more like looking around your home and saying, wow, what could I repurpose or use in a way that I didn't think about before?
That's cool.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I wanted to ask the group, is there anyone that has like an area of their home, or aka their home office or their desk, where it just becomes this dumping ground, and then it stacks of paperwork and mail, and then now it just becomes this messy desk? There's a couple hands up.
I love this.
And then that area, I don't know about you guys, is not inspiring at all to want to sit in and get work done. And now I then take all my shit upstairs because I now am avoiding my desk at home. And now I'm creating even more of a chunky corner that, oh my God. So how would you help that situation, Claire? Like, what would you do? Like, you've seen my home office. So, I mean, there's a lot of help that could be done, but in the people that answered, you know, with their hand raised for that topic alone, like, paint a situation of where you come in. And
Well, here's what I love is that there's I love the hand raising, because here's the deal, right? Like, so for all of us, right? These are incredibly unprecedented times, and that none of us have ever navigated a pandemic, right? And so I think that this is also all manifesting in different ways for different people. So I'm always incredibly transparent. Like, I have diagnosed OCD around like my space and putting things away. Like I am so much so that like I think AJ's like, oh my gosh, because we're living together now so much during this pandemic that like I'll be sitting on the couch, and if something's kind of out of place, I'm not able to like chill and watch TV because I will move it. And the reason I say this is because that's for me where I'm also finding control. There's other areas of my life in this pandemic that I've kind of let, almost like the metaphor of like piling up papers, that's been me and my movement and my taking care of my body. Like I barely recognize my body anymore, and I'm getting more in touch with her. But like, I just want to say that like, we have to give ourselves so much grace in this. So like, maybe someone's still crushing it on like their movement routine, or they're working a ton, or you're also homeschooling your kid, like all these things, but then you've got papers piling up. I'm not here to make you feel bad about that, right? The same way that someone wouldn't make me feel bad about having, comfort bacon, egg, and cheese bagels every single day of the pandemic. And like, you know what I mean? Like, right? So let's just give ourselves like a huge amount of grace with this first and foremost, because this work can bring up so much shame, so much guilt, and that has no place in our homes, because guess what? We're the boss of our homes. We're the boss of our bodies. The more we can like feel like, give ourselves these not so woo of like the positive affirmations, but really say like, no, I've got this. I've got 10 minutes. Because guess what? There could be some junk mail in that pile, but there could also be your social security card and your passport and things that like you don't want to get rid of. So I want you to like take the thing that is like the path of least resistance, the easiest thing that you could clear off. So that's what I'm saying, like start with a miscellaneous drawer, or start with like one pile of papers where you're like, I've got 10 minutes. I'm going to just sort into shred, scan, like maybe that's it. Maybe your answer, if like you're a paper clutter person, maybe you want to go buy a scanner and like actually start doing more like electronic filing. Or maybe you just need to go buy, like Target has them, you can find these at Goodwill, like just a filing cabinet that you can roll next to your desk, where you could at least have a home to house those papers. I think a lot of the time clutter happens because there's not a designated home for your items. So maybe it is buying a drawer, or even like something that sits on your desk for like incoming documents, and you just tell yourself, okay, I'm going to go through this once every couple of weeks or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, to me, starting with the stuff that feels like dessert, that feels easiest, that's what's great to do on your own. If we're working together, whether virtually or in person, I would actually make you do probably the thing that's hardest, because guess what? Then you're going to get your money's worth out of this session, or the value, because like I'm there to hold your hand through that like tax document that you don't want to go through. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Cool. So cool.
Claire, you guys, there's a phone app. You're brilliant. There's a phone app that's free where you can scan your documents. It turns them into PDFs, and then done and done. Oh my God, I'm gonna totally do that. Like I've got like some
what?
Yeah, it's Adobe Scan or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's so easy. It takes a picture, it makes it into a PDF. Done and done. I'm gonna clear my desk when I get home. Thank you.
God bless.
God bless.
You're so welcome. We literally just did a kitchen renovation. And so guess what? Any appliance we got came with manuals. Do you want to know what I do with manuals? I set up the system and then I recycle those bad boys, because guess what? This is the day and age of the internet. You want to learn how to clean your Dyson filter? There's a YouTube for that. Like I promise you, you will not, like you can DM me and say, Claire, you ruined my life. I threw away that manual from 20 years ago and now I can't find it, right? But like,
Done.
but I think when like we just see these piles of things, because then what happens is none of us have like so much space that it's we can just like fill a drawer of just manuals. You know, it's like there, to me, more important things could be in there. Yeah.
One cool thing that Claire helped me realize too is we didn't really need all this old furniture in my back bedroom that was taking up way too much space. It's a really small room, and we had this gigantic old dresser. One drawer was falling apart. But after we purged, I didn't need also then this giant piece of furniture in my room. So we got rid of it, Claire, which was awesome. You know, we donated this huge piece. So now, you know, the space is opened up for either, you know, a little mini desk, like an easy desk that could fit in there, or whatever I want to decide to, you know, put in there now. And maybe I make it my own office. So that topic came up too, which is kind of cool.
You can put a Peloton there.
Jesus.
Was that Shivani? Who was that? Good. I'm gonna find you. Yeah. Yeah. We're just gonna skip over.
Yeah. No, I think, oh my gosh, Molly, I love that, because Sue and I got to do that too. It's like, I think sometimes, especially when, here's the deal, like there are so many more important things like going on in the world, going on in our own personal lives, that it can sometimes feel really trivial to like take this kind of dedicated time. But what fascinates me about organizing and about clearing space, there is something about even rearranging the artwork on your wall that it almost like hits you at this cellular level of like, you feel like you are in this like new regenerated space. And like, as a white woman, it's not really my space, my lane to talk about like feng shui, but the more I've even learned about that and like energy in a space, like it's amazing. It's really true. And so I think that like, there's also sometimes this pressure of, oh, I just got rid of this huge dresser, now I need to put something else in there. But I would ask why? Like, why not just kind of let the space be what it is for a while? And then if you're like, oh yeah, this could, like, you find the perfect desk that fits in there, then amazing. But also sometimes I think it's just like, we see this happen too when we move into bigger spaces. And this again is also kind of tied to our society. You look at like other places where it's like, oh, the expectation isn't to have like 3 homes and 5 cars. Like, it's all about consumption, right? And so I kind of want to say like, stop the bus right here and just see like, wow, I have the things I need around me and the things that make me feel like me and that make me feel really good. And it doesn't need to be minimal in this way that something feels sterile. Like, I don't like the idea of minimalism because it makes people feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, I have one chair in my home and I sit on it, right? Like, that's not the idea. The idea is like, I want your space to feel like current you. I don't want it to feel like this past time capsule that's reminding you of like old relationships or old jobs that you had. Like, it's cool to have memories, but I would aspire to have you be in a place that really supports your current needs.
Yeah.
Can I just say something? Because I bought my place like 5 years ago, and one of the things I did was like I had things hanging on my old place which I had since like college, and I just was like, no, I'm getting rid of all of this. And it is still there are still like walls that are just like empty because I haven't found anything that seems to like fit or just something there. And so oftentimes I'll have people come over and go, you have nothing on your walls.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know, I haven't found the thing yet.
Yeah.
And so it's,
Yeah.
I've been trying to like not pressure myself to be like, oh, I have to find like something to like put above the TV or whatever it is.
But that's also the neat thing too, that Claire helps with, like, even if you had existing items in your home that could be hung on a wall, she helps you figure that out too.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. So I'll show you, like, we've been in this condo for now 3 years and it's taken all of this renovating, but like, to your point, it kind of feels bare in here, and that like, I still want like maybe a little floating shelf with some artwork there. I'm like still working on this gallery wall. And so like, this place doesn't quite feel like us fully yet, but like a lot of our intention around it has been to like renovate it in a way that feels like good and like us. And in a way to do that, it's also to like, you got to save money, and it takes time to renovate, and it takes time. And I think that we need to also give ourselves the permission to not feel like, oh, I got to run out and just buy artwork that I'm not fully attached to, like, just so I can like look like I live here. You know, it's like, no, we live here. It just isn't fully done yet. And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody have any like random questions for Claire?
Yeah, I do actually. So, you've talked a little bit about the environment, which is obviously, I think, huge to a lot of folks, especially in Seattle. So something that I think would be really helpful to hear is sort of what your approach is when you're like, let's say, renting an apartment and you anticipate like one day moving to a larger space. You want to buy things in a way that feels sustainable, that serves the current space, but maybe with like an eye towards, maybe right now I have this piece in this room and it's serving this function or what have you. But I, not wanting to like throw it away as soon as I'm done with it, right? Maybe it could serve a different function somewhere along the lines. Like, how do you think about that? How do you balance that? What is your mindset as you're kind of thinking about like pieces that can grow with you, if that makes sense?
Oh my gosh, it so does. I love that question so much. As someone who, so this condo is the first place I've ever bought into. Prior to that, I lived in 6 different apartments in New York City and like kept moving. And then even when we got back to Seattle, we rented 5 different places before finding this one. And so the idea when we were renting was things that could move with us, but truly like at that time, everything I bought was from either like IKEA or Craigslist OfferUp. I love Ballard consignment, like stuff that just like that felt like, okay, this will work. But then also that kind of that permission piece of knowing, hey, we don't quite know where our future selves are going to move to. And even in this condo, like this isn't necessarily a forever situation. So to me, the resale piece it's so cool. Like the amount of things, even in this like renovation, we've sold bathroom vanity, old fridge, old dishwasher. So many people are doing this work right now. So like definitely just getting on like an OfferUp. And I do the same thing with like clothing, Poshmark, ThreadUp. Those are great places to buy your clothes from and then also resell. So I feel like the reselling game is amazing. And then there's an organization here. They just changed their warehouse location. So they've been holding off on donations, but it's called Humble Design, and it transitions families from houselessness to housing, all based on like our donations as people in Seattle, which is really beautiful. And so it's kind of like an extreme home makeover, because it's been very proven that if you're just transitioning a family into a bare apartment, that can feel very sterile. It doesn't feel quite like a home. So like CB2, Casper Mattress, a few others partner with Humble Design. And then for any of us that are donating, like our dressers or lamps, everything that gets reused there. And so I think that that's really a fun way to think about like, okay, if you can resell or like give to friends, do a yard sale, something like that, that's a great option. And then for anything that can't be resold, donating is a great way to go. Did that help a little bit?
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Okay.
Funny. Claire, I was thinking about pulling up some of your photos from the website that shows the spaces that you've helped organize. And then maybe you could like tell me to stop on one and talk about it. Does that sound cool?
Sure. That sounds
Okay.
cool. And yeah, and then if anyone has questions, we could type in the chat and I can always
type in the chat, or I'm going to do a screen share and then tell me that you can see this. We see it?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Okay. So this is cool. So Claire's website shows her work. Do these get bigger?
Oh, yeah, they do.
Oh, check it out.
So that's a before for Natty.
I'm gonna just try to get rid of that guy. Okay. So this is kind of cool. This is a before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a before.
And this, okay.
That was the bed process, just like we did with you, Malls.
And then check that out.
Yeah, we ended up actually, so if you want to go back one, love, back one arrow. Yeah, so you'll see that Natty had a shoe system at the bottom that she actually like didn't love. And so I'd kind of rearranged it so that things fit there. But because she has a lot of high heels, they would kind of still fall. So I ended up going with the next picture, ended up going to the Container Store for her and using just their clear shoe boxes. But these clear shoe boxes I use in any project where a client needs a new one. Like AJ and I keep tools in them, extra light bulbs, cleaning supplies, because they stack and they come in all different sizes. And then, for example, Natalie's someone who loves to fold her denim. And so that was an easy thing to do on the top shelf. I also love folding denim because it's weighted. So it stacks really, really nicely. And you can do a pile of, like 5 to 8 pairs and they won't fall down. Whereas t-shirts are a little harder to do that with.
Mm-hmm. This is so cool. I love seeing the before and afters.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun. Sue, are you on here?
I think we got so excited. We rarely took befores. Yeah.
Who is this? Looks familiar.
Sue, I feel like I've put them on my Instagram maybe before, but I don't know if I have yours on the website.
No worries.
Yeah. Okay.
You remember the one, Sue, where we got so excited we started and then we were like, oh, we should have taken.
Oh God! I mean, it could have been any spot. It could have been the bathroom. It could have been the kitchen. It could have been my closet. That happened a lot.
Look at this. So Claire, you've done a kitchen. This one really stood out to me because I'm like, wow, that just looks like a space I want to work in.
Oh yeah. So that's my friend Jen Bunders. So if we click on that, that was her after, and she's actually since moved apartments. So kind of like Shivani's question, she's like, actually some of these pieces have been able to go to her in her new space. She knew she didn't want a desk with super high shelving because she didn't know that she would always have an apartment with such high ceilings. So she strategically bought a desk that was shorter. And then we decided that we could always put up like floating shelves or artwork wherever she goes because she's still in transition. And then that filing cabinet was like a clutch piece because she has a ton of stuff from like previous businesses and taxes and stuff. So that's been really helpful.
And I love, well, you just have a great eye for just, also just where the dog, where to
potato
art. So this is.
Yeah. So Molly, similar to yours, this is what's really fun. So Jen had moved to Seattle from Cleveland and had brought all her college furniture with her. This huge dresser that you see pictured with the mirror was basically broken at this point because like the legs had come off it and it was way bulkier. So like the dresser you saw with potato in it, that is literally like a dresser that we pulled out of her closet. That's a completely different piece. And we decided to repurpose it there so it would be less bulky. So literally we took it out of there because I was like, what purpose is this serving? It was just right. It was like hidden in there. She couldn't even pull out the drawers properly. So we were literally able to edit out so much stuff that we could repurpose it in this way and then like hang all her coats and fold her scarves that way.
That's so cool. Wow.
Yeah. So it's a lot of just, so like this one, if you click on that one, Molly, yeah, that'll kind of show you the before, because also here's another thing for my friends that were saying that they create piles. This is literally like the way that we were tricking Jen not to do that. this dresser is way lower than the tall one. Jen's about 5'4". So she was finding herself just throwing shit on the dresser as she was walking by to her bathroom. Whereas now that she has like a higher thing, she's not doing that anymore. And I know that's funny, but it's like, this is where this work is so important, to know yourself. Because to me, if it's just like, if it's at eye level and it's easy to reach, you just are going to throw your stuff on it. But it's like, it's just kind of fun to like get to know yourself.
Wow.
The
Is that
linens,
linen closet?
yep, we edited out all the linens, donated what could be donated, and then just kind of taught her how to fold some towels.
Oh my God, look at that. Wow.
And again, with jeans, right? They're easy to fold. So the client B one is really fun because it's jewelry. So this particular client loved her jewelry, but was constantly just kind of like putting it in these tins where everything was getting really tangled and cluttered. Yeah. And so we ended up, and then she said that the kind of stick piece that you see there, she was like, it doesn't feel like me anymore. It's something I got in college. I want to get rid of it. And so we found these systems at the Container Store, because we were like, okay, let's first edit out, right? Because you got to start the editing process first, so you know then exactly like how much of something that you need to contain. And so then I kind of counted, okay, cool, we've got a few watches, some bracelets, great, we're going to need something to hold those. And then we realized that the majority of what she had was necklaces, so we were going to need some tiered options for that.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And we did her bathroom as well. So a lot of the product was just getting lost in these huge tall bins. So again, it was great that she had repurposed them from a previous apartment, but she literally like didn't know what was in them. They were really deep. And so then what we ended up doing was switching it out for bins that give more of like an organic, lighter feel with the woven basket vibe. And now you can actually see everything that's in them.
Look at that. I mean, it's just like,
yeah.
And that was just like going to Home Goods, like spent about $15 to get like all those baskets. So it doesn't have to be time consuming or expensive. It's just like, I mean, it's literally the same piece, right? But it makes the bathroom look so much brighter.
Oh, this looks familiar.
That's very looks.
Look at that.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, we didn't really get rid of things. We just switched, like, got exciting about like what bins were going to go in there.
Oh my God, this is so good. Okay, let's do one more, Claire.
Cool. Let's do it. Let's see. There's going to be probably some fun. So we've seen closets. There's one of your closets, Molly, but what's a fun? Oh, click on a mall, because that's an office. A mall's office was really fun. It's a combination, and that's the entryway. So with her boys, it was not only an office, but also a place for them to do like crafts, schoolwork, everything. And then that's the whole family like shoe system. So
wow,
kind of like going through that. But this was the before, so we ended up taking all the book things out of the bookshelf, but mostly like stuff would just kind of be like on the floor. We rearranged all the books so that they could be, more easily accessed in there.
Wow.
And then this,
Look at that.
Yeah.
So I'll go, wait a minute, I'm going to start there. That was kind of what it looked like.
That was what it looks like. We got it to there. We just kind of edited out coats and shoes, got it down to essentials.
Yeah.
And then, that's taking out some of the like documents.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
That just looks clean.
Yeah. So this was, now we kind of got it to a place of like everything, we put just labels on, but there was no new buying of product in that. Like they already had all those bins from IKEA and just like repurposing in a way that works for the kiddos. Because that's the thing, right? Especially as like, you know, with every age, there's different supplies, different needs, also, you know, even just different toys that kids are playing with. So one of the things that we did with the mall too, she had like garage space where if you notice your kiddos like not playing with some toys for like a certain toy for a while, you can put that in bins and not like get rid of it right away because they might ask for it, but kind of taking it out of the immediate play rotation. And then I have a client that waits basically like 6 months to a year. And if her kiddos don't ask for that item anymore, then that's donated.
I could go on and on. Like, these are such inspiring photos. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm like, I can think of so many different things. Let's look at mine. All right, we're going to finish with mine. Claire.
Let's do it, Molly.
Oh, we did get, okay, I think we have a funny video too.
Yeah.
So this was, and we did get California closets a while ago, but I just never had purged my closet before. And this is how I like to fold. And then Claire shows up in your life. Before, after. Oh my God, look at this. Look what she did to my t-shirts. Oh my Lord, have mercy. It's so beautiful. Yep. I got my shoes back. And then this is our home office. We have a little closet, so anything long hangs here for me. And then we just have shit hanging out. And then that's before and then after.
Nice.
Look at what it does when you just even color code books. Like, it just looks nice.
Totally.
Up there. Right?
Yeah.
It just looks good. I don't know.
And what I love about this, Molly, is that we also had left like one of those shelves empty, right? Because it's still that idea of like, you don't have to fill it right away. You know, it's just like we edited the stuff out and then, let it be what it was.
That's fun to go through those photos.
That is.
Yeah. So we've got just a couple minutes left. Do any of you have questions for Claire? Like, do you want to ask her specifically, like if she does a virtual or an in-person and what she charges or what a package looks like? Leslie, go.
I just have a general question. So Natalie and I both mentioned that dining room tables are a struggle for us. And so I'm wondering sort of what's the first step in thinking about why it's a problem space? I mean, is it just when I put something down on it, I say like, does this item not have a home and assign it a home? Or like, how do I identify the problem and sort of break the cycle of like, this is a convenient place to put stuff on that I'll deal with later. And then I don't deal with it. And then we just eat at the coffee table. So just trying to figure out like, how do I start to break that cycle? And what are the questions I need to ask myself to make that change?
I love that so much. So to me, first off, I would ask like, why is it that you're wanting to get that space organized? And the reason I ask that is like, is it just because we see on movies and TV that dining room tables are supposed to be bare? Like, do you actually like storing things on your dining room table? Because if you're like, you know what, I don't want things on my dining room table. I want it to look really beautiful. And I want to transition my family from eating at the coffee table to the dining room table. Because your why will then get you excited about doing the project, right? Like if you're like, I am pumped about eating on this, and maybe you're not pumped about eating on it because you don't love the plates you eat from. Like maybe you've been over those and you want to treat yourself to some new like cutlery or some new, like something that makes your space feel a little bit like different. I personally, like I've heard of a lot of families, especially like during the pandemic, the dining room table became the office place, the place where kids do work, all this different stuff. So I was listening to one woman who's an editor in New York, she and her husband like work off the table like all day. And then in order to signify that it's like dinner time, they just clear everything off. They put placemats down and they make it feel like a different moment, like during the pandemic. So you could start that way. Like, hey, what if we just start eating at the table? Or if this is cluttering up like our dining room table, where else could these items go? So like, does it mean buying a filing cabinet where the papers go? Does it mean when you're walking in your front door, you need a place to put like incoming mail? You know, like it might just be getting curious about like where else you could store things in your home.
I love that concept of transitioning like cat engine. Like that's huge right now.
Yeah, because heck, like most of our spaces were not meant to be like work and homeschooling and eating and all these things, right? Like this wasn't how homes were necessarily going to be set up. And so I noticed myself, like as I've gotten curious about like not drinking as much, because I was drinking a lot last year. And I realized the reason that I was drinking was I wanted to signify to myself like, oh, now there's like a different vibe in our home. You know what I mean? Like we've been in our home all day. Now I need it to be like replacing the times when I would have gone out of the home to meet up with my girlfriends or something. And so I'm realizing like, oh, I just need a different substitute or a different ritual. And so I think that like wherever we can create ritual in our home, like if the ritual is gathering as a family and eating, great, let's like have the placemats, let's have the dinner plates or whatever that make you feel like it's a different moment and a different vibe in your day.
Cool. I love that.
That's super helpful. Thanks. And I also wanted to give a plug that I don't know if you remember, Claire, but back in the spring, you really helped me with some like postpartum body issues by taking clothes that were hanging in my closet that are 3 sizes away from fitting me and just getting them out of sight so I don't have to look at them first thing every day when I wake up. So I'm still, processing that. And you mentioned you've been through your own journey with body issues and trying to figure out like, what do I do with the clothes that don't fit me anymore rather than just stare at them aspirationally. So if anyone is struggling with that, Claire was really helpful with that too.
Oh,
thank you, Leslie. That means so much. I mean, like literally even right now, like I think that because you and I were having that conversation, right? There's a difference also, I think, between holding on to like a white t-shirt and jeans that like no longer serve our current bodies. It's like, no, buy a new pair of jeans, like buy a new bra, whatever we need to like nourish our current bodies. But if it's like a really special jumpsuit or dress or something that you like bought on a vacation that still means something to you, I do think that we can hold on to those items. They just don't need to be at the front of our closet, making ourselves like feel badly or something that we can't be in them right now. I love that.
Yeah. So Claire, if we want to like, it's really just easy to reach out to you, right? And just,
yeah.
And you do virtual, don't you?
I do. Yeah. You and I have talked about this, right? Like I feel like, especially during this last year, I've loved how a lot of businesses have like pivoted to virtual, and I've had some really wonderful virtual sessions with clients. But I also was really cognizant, like, to me, this work is like work that like I want all humans to have access to. But I also know that sometimes like this, like even like a personal training or something can feel like a luxury during a time where we're all like, we've all got stuff going on. We're all concerned with finances and uncertainty and stuff. And so I think too, what I'm going to try to do more of is just even like putting up very like short informational videos and things like how you and I talked about, Molly, like doing another session and saying like, hey, if you all write into Molly and say like, hey, my home office is my like problem area, then like, let's get on for 20 minutes and like organize an office together. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want this to feel exclusive or daunting work to do.
Yeah. That'd be cool. I don't know about you guys, but I'd be down. It'd make me be accountable. I'd show up. Like if we have a date,
Yeah.
I have to show up.
I think that could be so fun. Just like moving together, but in the home space.
Yeah. Well, we are at time And my friend, I can't thank you enough for being available, for having you back. Like, I love having you back here, and we always want more Claire. So I think everyone, I've posted her info quite a bit of where you can reach out to Claire. But yeah, if you want her email, I've got it, but her website's been posted to all our places along with Instagram, and she's just so fucking helpful. Like, I think really we went fast, buddy. Like, I think we took like 2 hours.
2 hours.
I think it was 2. Yeah.
Yeah, you are fast. I'm always amazed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
To work with you.
Because I think that that's also like, and y'all are sweet to say it's me, but it's actually you, right? It's you that are fast in this, because I think there is something also like the way that, like, if we're showing up for like a class or we're booking any kind of session, it's like we're ready to do the thing, right? Like, this isn't work that I'm trying to like pull people's teeth to do. It's like, you come when you're ready. And then when you're ready, it's like, we're going to be efficient about it. And I'm going to see your space in a way that like, you're unable to. The same reason why I would call another organizer to do this work with me if I'm feeling stuck, right? It's like we can all see each other's like areas in ways that are different than we can see our own.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hun, thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll follow up and talk like our little next idea. And everyone, thanks for joining us on this Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Claire. Nice to
Appreciate
see
you.
Love you, buddy.
Love you too.
We'll talk real soon, hun. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye, hun.